Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show and happy Monday. Hope everyone had a great weekend. We have tons of stories to get to today that cross over from the political to the cultural arenas. The Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad campaign has made its way to the White House. President Trump, just today, he's got lots of thoughts. He put it out in a Truth Social post this morning that includes comments on Sweeney, on Bud Light, on Taylor Swift, and more. We're going to get to it. And everyone's favorite political liability, Kamala Harris, has soft launched her book tour with a repeat appearance on the soon-to-be-canceled Stephen Colbert Late Night Show. Because when you find out that a show has no ratings, that's where you go to launch your book. She has not changed at all. We've got the perfect guest joining us for the full show today, Michael Knowles, host of the Daily Wire's Michael Knowles Show. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. The worst part about cooking meat, being chained to a scorching stove, sweating and squinting through the smoke, singeing your eyebrows, only to serve something that's half jerky, half still mooing. Those days, my friends, are over. Chef IQ Sense is a smart, wireless cooking sensor that goes right into whatever you're making. It's like a meat thermometer, but way smarter. It takes the guesswork and stress out of cooking. You just insert it, you open the Chef IQ app, you choose your doneness, and Sense monitors, predicts exactly when your food will be ready. No more opening hot ovens, hovering over grills, or babysitting air fryers. And when it's done, Chef IQ Sense will send an alert straight to your phone. No more guessing. Now you can kick back, hang with guests while dinner basically cooks itself. This wireless cooking sensor just announced a flash sale. Summer grilling season is here, and Chef IQ Sense makes you a grill master. So get 15% by visiting chefiq.com and using promo code MK. Again, that's chefiq.com, promo code MK. Michael, welcome back. Great to have you.
Great to be with you, Megyn. Thank you for having me.
There's a lot to go over. Oh, so much. Why don't we just start with Kamala, because it's just so fun and it's Monday, so everybody needs a little fun. She's launching this book and she's trying to make it sound like there are some real nuggets in there, some really exciting things. And hold on a second. This is the tease for what's going to get us really excited to buy her book, 107 Days. Here's SOT 8.
I mean, there's a lot of personal stuff in the book. I mean, poor Dougie.
Yeah. You're blowing the lid off of Doug? What's going on?
For example, my birthday's in October. The election's in November. You see where I'm going?
No one does.
And Dougie kind of dropped the ball on my big birthday.
He didn't get you anything?
Oh, you have to read the book.
All right, just tell me the page. Tell me the page.
It's all classic Kamala. The weird, drunk-sounding giggling at absolutely nothing, saying nothing, nothing clever, nothing amusing. Her weirdness is somewhat amusing, but she and her substantive comments are not. Her tease, we've got to read the book to find out if he didn't get her a present. Who gives a flying fig? She's off socially in like a very weird way, continues to be, Michael, and yet the reports persist that the reason she didn't run for governor of California is she's using this book to soft launch her 2028 presidential run. Your thoughts?
Megyn, I guess you and I differ here. I'm on the edge of my seat. What did he or did he not get her for her birthday? This is almost certainly the most exciting thing in the book. The book is called, 107 Days? The life and times, the rollicking campaign of Kamala Harris. My first book that I ever put out is called Reasons to Vote for Democrats, a comprehensive guide. It has no words in it, and it became a #1 national bestseller. It almost certainly has the exact same content as Kamala's book, because what could she possibly write about? No one voted for her. No one wanted her to be the nominee. The only reason she got it is because her boss made the mistake of going on television and showing everyone that his brain didn't work anymore. So she was the only person who could fill it. No one at that point even wanted her to be the president. And then she kept making a lot of mistakes, but not even interesting mistakes, kind of boring mistakes. Like she was just boring on the trail, and then she lost. What could you possibly have in the book? In her defense, this was a cheap cash grab, and she got whatever the advance was, and now she's got to go through the charade of selling the books. Going on the Colbert Show is just as good as going on any show. She could go on the top-rated show in the country. No one's going to buy this book. So you're perhaps right that she's trying to soft launch a presidential campaign. I'm a little bit more cynical about it, maybe. I think this is a cash grab for a desperate, gasping politician whose career is over, whether she knows it or not. I think the reason she didn't run for governor of California is she could lose, because nobody likes her. In her defense, she is very good at behind-the-scenes politics. I'm not even making Willie Brown jokes. I mean, she's good at wielding the levers of power and insinuating herself with all sorts of political elites. In terms of retail politics, the woman could not get herself elected dog catcher in Palookaville. And so maybe she's got some delusion that she's going to run for president in 2028. Ain't going to happen. Take the money and run, Kamala.
Maybe behind the scenes, her little "I eat no for breakfast" works on these weak-kneed Democrat donors who are like, yeah, I like it. Look at this, a strong black woman who eats no for breakfast. Here's my checkbook. Here's a little bit more of how she's titillating us, explaining the photo in her book of her from the day Joe Biden dropped out. Watch this at 9.
That day, July 21st, 2024, was a Sunday, and it was, my family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, my nieces' children, I call them my baby nieces. And we had a really wonderful brunch. Again, I talk about what that day is, but, and then I get the call from Joe. And immediately, that's the dining room at the vice president's residence. And immediately, my incredible team, people just started coming. And we turned it into a war room. And I made over 100 calls that day. I rolled calls. And that's me on a call. So you'll see my phone is actually on my lap. And you know, I know I've been teased about this, but I like these kinds of ear pods that have the thing, because I've served on the Senate Intelligence Committee. I have been in classified briefings, and I'm telling you, like, don't be on the train using your ear pods and thinking somebody can't listen to your conversation. I'm just telling you, that's a little bit more secure.
Oh my God, Michael, your face is exactly how I feel. He's got, listening audience, he's got the hand over his mouth and a furrowed brow, trying to understand how she came within a whisper of the presidency, this woman, Michael.
This is what happens when your entire life is just bred in a petri dish to appeal to the lowest common denominator of lowercase d Democratic politics, is there's just nothing interesting about you. I mean, say what you will about Trump, but the fact that Trump became a politician only 10 years ago, the fact that he was a boisterous billionaire, playboy, real estate mogul, TV star, he's really interesting. Even people who hate him just find him attractive. It's like a moth to a flame. Our attention just goes to this guy. They want to talk about him. Yes, whereas with Kamala, she was raised to never say anything offensive, to just appeal to the most normie, plain, white bread spaghetti dinner kind of constituent. And so the most interesting thing she can talk about are the chords that come out of her headphones. But I want to go back to the first part of the clip. She says, and I was sitting there, I was sitting there, and then I got the call, and I turned my dining room into a war room. What war exactly? So is this like, I don't know, Czechoslovakia just before the Nazi tanks rolled in? What war room? This was the worst side in a war I've ever seen. I mean, I guess she sort of put up a fight, but she got absolutely steamrolled. So I don't really get ultimately what the point of the book is, other than as a cash grab for her retirement plan, because she got clobbered. I mean, the campaign was poorly run, even by Democrat standards. Even insiders will admit that. She lost to Trump, who, to bring up the Hitler analogy again, all of the people around her said was Hitler, but then Trump not only managed to win, he won with the popular vote for the first time as a Republican in 20 years. I mean, it was just such an historic drubbing. Why does she want to rehash it?
Yeah, well, she thinks she's interesting. This is what I find interesting about her, is how empty she is. The only time she really gets animated is when she talks about race, abortion, or herself. Truly, I'm a connoisseur now of this woman's commentary. And those are the three things that really light her up. And the giggling about when she gets to herself, I call them my baby nieces. Like, that's something special about me. I have this term of endearment about my two nieces. I put the word baby in front of them.
They're nieces, but they're also babies. You say, I'm just so quirky, I decided to call them baby nieces. That's
what I do. That's my thing. And then she gets equally animated when she gets to her stupid AirPod choice. Like, I know things. I've been told I'm special. I have briefings and I can just tell you, get the ones that have the thing, okay? The ones that have the thing. It's ridiculous, but she comes alive. She, on the subject of me, yes. Oh, this is actually, I have a button on this. Reminds me of this gal from Legally Blonde. Me. That's Kamala.
A man wrapped up in himself makes a small package indeed, Megyn. And I suppose you're right. What's so disturbing about it is not just that a politician would make an anodyne remark or observation and then pretend that were edgy. That's actually pretty typical. Politician on the trail, listen, I'm going to get a little blue here. I'm going to loosen my collar and say that I like beer. That's the kind of thing that a politician will try to say to ingratiate himself. But they're always joking. Bill Clinton goes, I really love fast food. And, that's like the 500th sketchiest thing about the guy. He doesn't generally bring up the pot in the UK and all the women or anything like that. But with Kamala...
That's not the only fast thing he likes.
That's right. Am I right? The problem, though, with Kamala is... it seems as though this actually is the edgiest, most titillating part about her. That's right. I remember she went on the Breakfast Club during the campaign, or maybe it was even on the previous campaign when she was running for vice president. And she said that she loved listening to Snoop Dogg in college. And you can just look at the timeline. Snoop Dogg had not come out with his debut album while she was in college. So it was either a false memory or she just made it up. And I thought, man, lady, you're not even edgy enough to listen to Snoop. Legitimately, when she talked about how she liked to put pepper on her chicken in that cringe-inducing video with Tim Walz during the campaign, I think that actually is her, and I think that's even worse than being dishonest.
I agree. I don't think it is that she has been taught not to touch anything radioactive and that she's been schooled in this leftist field of don't offend, don't touch any, third rails. I think she's empty inside. There's nothing there. She's advanced. You mentioned Willie Brown. We know how she advanced originally. And then after that, she rode a cultural wave of Black, Indian, and a woman all the way to the vice presidency. And it almost got her the presidency. If it weren't for Donald Trump, it could have happened. She didn't need anything more. She's been empty inside with nothing interesting. And it's not a surprise. She didn't live a life before becoming a politician. It's like, I always worry about people who become journalists without having had a life before getting here. Yeah. You need to have done something to teach yourself about the world that you want to report on. And same for a politician. You need to have done something to teach yourself about the world that you now want to legislate on or lead. And she hasn't done it. She is an empty vessel.
There's a word here for this that we're sorely lacking in our present culture, which is magnanimity. Going back to classical antiquity, there was this idea of greatness of soul. And I was reading a comment by the great Harvard law professor Adrian Vermeule the other day, where he said, I wonder if you could meet a European noble from before the 16th century, I think we would be shocked and terrified by the greatness of his cruelty and the greatness of his gentility. That he'd be as brutal as anybody who's ever lived, but also as courteous and chivalric as anybody who's ever lived. And we just can't take that these days because it seems as though people have become smaller. You know, one can have greatness of soul in a grotesque and horrifying way, but at least there's something there. And one can also be one of the great saints of history. But when it comes to these modern politicians, and sadly for Kamala, she's the exemplar of it, it just seems like she's just smaller. She's not that bad. She's not that good. She's just not much of anything at all.
She's a shell, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there to hate. There's nothing there to love. There's only something there to mock or pretend about. And half of us did one and half of us did the other when she was running for president. And now, I mean, they are saying that she's got the number one slot going into the imaginary primary. We're not there yet, but it'll come before you know it. Among Dem names. Now, that's because she has the greatest name recognition, but that she is above all of them. There are some others creeping up, like Newsom and AOC. And I do want to talk about AOC because I think what's happening with the Democrat Party is interesting and the Democrat Socialists of America. But Kamala, it's still technically hers to lose. And what would happen if she actually got in, if she has the hubris, you know, if she believes what everybody's told her, which is she's clever and she's special and she can do it and she's destined to be the first female president, is she's going to get eaten alive by her own party. We're never going to have the fun of kicking her around again, Michael, because the Democrat Party will stop her, because unlike when she was anointed for her 107 days, they have the chance to stop it this time. And they know, no matter what they say to you and me, they know she cannot do it. She'll get killed in the primary.
I love that you say this word technically. She's technically the front runner in the Democrat presidential primary, which is probably true, but it's like being the tallest guy on the Oompa Loompa basketball team. It's just the field has not taken shape. The biggest candidates right now are her, Gavin Newsom, American Psycho, you know, Governor Bateman over there in California. You've got AOC, I guess. You've got Mayor Pete? Give me a break. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So this hasn't taken shape. These guys just got completely destroyed in November, including the popular vote. That's going nowhere. The one thing Kamala has going for her right now is that the Democrats don't know what they believe. They don't know what they believe about trade. They don't know what they believe about workers' rights. They don't know what they believe about the border and crime. They don't know what they believe about Israel and Gaza. They don't know what they believe about anything. And the one thing Kamala has going for her is she stands for nothing. So AOC, love her or hate her, she does kind of stand for something. If the Dems double down on wokeness, then she is a very legitimate presidential candidate. Gavin Newsom is extremely liberal, but he's also trying to be friends with Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. He's also trying to be a weather vane and such that you can't nail him down. But Kamala right now, by being the least person, I guess is technically the front runner.
Yes. No, I agree with you. You're right. Totally agree. But we'll see, because those others are sort of ascending. You know, AOC hasn't run for president yet. Neither has Gavin Newsom. She's old news. You know, she's stale, and she's got the albatross around her neck of Joe Biden and his mental acuity problems. This came up a little, her failure to differentiate herself from him. And Mark Halperin is reporting today, if she tries to do that in running for 2028, if now she chooses to say, oh, you know, Joe Biden, he was yesterday's news and I was respectful, but let me tell you, I had a lot of differences with him. And, you know, behind the scenes, she'd have somebody release, like, I also knew he wasn't all there. He said that they're going to kill her. The Biden team will unleash, he said, Palin-esque stories about her, which is completely easy to believe, that she was a fool behind the scenes, that she knew nothing. No one believes she knows anything about anything, please. And they're ready to stick that knife in her. But here she is being asked about how she didn't differentiate herself in South 11.
That must have been difficult, because you have to differentiate yourself as a candidate, right, and yet you respect this man who you're still working for at the same time. What was that like to navigate?
I talk about that extensively in the book.
And
it's in the chapter with Doug.
No, it's because... And I say that because you're raising something that you and I both know requires a lot more time than we probably have right now to talk about
Are we in a hurry? Are we in a hurry, guys? Go ahead.
Thanks, everyone.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel very strongly that, it's an instinct of mine to be someone who does not participate in piling on.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was not going to pile on.
Michael.
And I just wasn't going to do that. And there was a lot of piling on at that time, and I wasn't going to participate in that.
Michael.
We weren't piling off. We were piling. We weren't, and there was... It was like
she was running
pile.
for president. She was running for president. The question was really simple. Like, how are you different than him? Than he? Like, how? It is, and you can see when she glitches. Long pause, awkwardly long, and then back to I and me. It's always I and me. That's where she's, most comfortable. I have this policy. I have this thing about piling on. It's another thing that makes me special, like my AirPods. And I am against piling on, which is why I was a total fucking fool whenever anybody asked me that question, including you, Stephen Colbert. We pulled when he asked her about it. It was after The View had asked her about it, and she glitched live on Stephen Colbert the first time. Here she glitched again, but here's the OG in SOT 15B.
Polling shows that a lot of people, especially independent voters, really want this to be a change election, and that they tend to break for you in terms of thinking about change. You are a member of the President administration. Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of... Yes. But also, I think it's important to say with 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And so when we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly, I love the American people. And I believe in our country. I love that it is our character and nature to be an ambitious people. We have aspirations, we have dreams, we have incredible work ethic, and I just believe that we can create and build upon the success we've achieved in a way that we continue to grow opportunity, and in that way grow the strength of our nation.
No.
I can't even, I'll poke my eyes through my finger. I can't even watch it. It is the scene from The Simpsons when Bart didn't do his book report, or it was a report on Libya or something, and he just starts making things up and stringing words together. And, in short, Libya is a land of contradictions. It is so, my question after the first clip is, did she even read the book? Has she even read her own book? I'm not convinced.
Did she read the book?
I can't imagine she wrote it. I doubt she's read it. But then after the OG clip, I guess the question that if you're this kind of politician, that you would have to ask yourself at the end of your career, at the end of your life is, what was it for? What was it for? Is it to fly around on Air Force One? Is it to be in the White House? Oh, the White House is very beautiful in many ways. It's also a government building. It's not. There are nicer buildings than the White House. Is it what? If you don't believe anything, if you don't have any clear conception of the good, if you have no view of anything that you want to do, if you don't even know what America is, why are you a politician? It's the money or the fame? There are easier ways to make money and get fame. Like what? Why is this woman? Why does she exist?
Because she was told early on, it's not your time. And don't you let them, Michael Knowles, eat no for breakfast. You just keep eating and eating and eating until you're full. You're finally full of yourself. She claimed to Colbert that she really just wants to sit on the sideline now. She doesn't want to go. I can't play any more Kamala sound bites. Michael's going to leave. She says, though, I don't want to go back into a broken system. I've been on the inside for so many years. What I really want to do now is travel the country and talk to people, listen to people. Okay, so literally nobody wants to talk to her, and even fewer want to actually listen to her. And this was CNN's Harry Enton, the data guru, reacting to that claim. Watch this.
Can't possibly believe that someone who was Attorney General for a good period of time, a United States Senator for a good period of time, and then Vice President for 4 years, and then ran for President, all of a sudden believes that the best way to solve it is from being outside the system? Oh, please. Not a chance on God's green earth that that's necessarily the case. What's probably going on is she saw what the polling numbers were, perhaps, for her running for governor of California. Yes, she has left open the idea that maybe she could run in 2028 for the Democratic nomination. But I'll tell you, Abby, I've looked at those numbers. She would be the weakest front runner since 1992. So the bottom line is this. She's looking at the numbers. She knows what's cooking. And then all of a sudden, you know what? Actually, this lifelong politician, I want to be outside the system. Give me a break.
Totally agree with every word.
Of course, of course. She right now is giving me the vibes of a weaker Sarah Palin. Say what you will about Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin did believe things in her career, and she actually did
had
win some
charisma.
fights. Had charisma. I mean, she had much more political talent than Kamala Harris and more political purpose. And yet, after 2008, it was pretty clear that was a very bruising race, McCain-Palin. Her political future was very much in doubt. And so she kept teasing, maybe I'll run in 2012. Maybe I'll run for this. Maybe I'll run for that. And she was teasing it to keep herself in the public square. But it was not going to happen. And I think that's what's going on here with Kamala, minus the charisma, minus the political purpose, and minus the plausibility.
Yeah, it's incredible to me. She has nothing else to do. She wrote a book. I'm sure she's getting millions for it. It's not going to sell well. And she thinks this is soft launch for 2028 when she'll have longer than 107 days. And you know what else she's going to have? Like I said, Democrat knives pointed for her because they didn't have a choice last time around. Many were desperately calling for a primary, but bottom up, as Chuck Schumer so falsely said. She was chosen, and they got stuck with her. Okay, I want to stay on the Dems for a minute.
Megyn, just one last point on this. The title 107 Days is, as you are implying, an excuse as to why she lost last time. She won't win this time. Does anyone think that she would have done better with more time? Does anyone think day 107 was better than day one? No way. No chance.
Just Kamala. She's the only one, and maybe her inept campaign manager, Jen O'Malley Dillon, who absolutely sucked and blew $2 billion on nothing, on a huge air sandwich that the best thing she managed to do was get labeled a brat Summer, in a way that we were supposed to think was favorable. Okay, Doug Schoen, my old pal, he's a Fox News contributor and a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, and he is making the case for AOC, why AOC could take the White House in 2028, not just the Dem nomination, and Kamala Harris won't. He says AOC appears to be the frontrunner for the presidential nomination if she forgoes a Senate campaign, because there's a lot of buzz about her taking down Chuck Schumer. I say this for multiple reasons. First, it could be argued that she's even stronger than the other candidates at this moment in their careers or respective races. She talks about how she's better known and polling better than somebody like a Barack Obama, that he looks at 2020. And at that point, she's got better numbers at this point in this race than President Biden and Oprah had in 2020 and the speculation around that race. So that's interesting that she's polling higher at this point than even Biden was, and he became the nominee. And then he says, okay, right now, she ranks third, according to Democratic primary polls. It's an aggregator he's citing, so this is like an average of them, behind only Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's at 13%, and so is Pete Buttigieg. They're basically tied at 13%, and AOC is at 10%. This is when Harris, however, is not included. Then he points out when polls with Harris are included, the former VP gets 21%, so she's above everybody. But he says that's well below even a 30% barrier. Her support has dropped 14 points since January, whereas AOC's has gone up by 9 percentage points. So she was at 1. She's now at 10 because she's been out there on her Fight the Oligarchy tour, which she takes on a private jet. but she's been popular. She's been filling the seats. And this new brand of Democrat socialism is selling in certain corners. He says in individual polls where Harris and AOC are tested together, AOC holds a 4-point lead over the former VP, 19% to Kamala Harris's 15%, according to Atlas Intel polling. Her favorability rating, again, per Atlas Intel, 2 points higher than President Trump's. She's at 46, he's at 44. JD Vance, 42, Kamala Harris, 42. Now, AOC has not run for president, and that'll take a beating. That'll give a beating to your favorability, no matter who you are. And so, query whether that's going to factor in more later. But in any event, she's also a dominant fundraiser. She's able to generate enthusiasm. And he points out on the money raising front, she's raised more than $15 million in 2025, almost double Speaker Mike Johnson, with 99% of it coming from small dollar donors. That's fascinating, Michael Knowles, that she's on the rise, AOC, as is her brand of democracy, meaning socialism, and the old school, air sandwich Kamala Harris. Well, no, but even the Gavin Newsoms and the Pete Buttigieg's of the world who are woke, they're woke leftists, are on the outs.
AOC is a real presidential candidate, and she's probably the strongest candidate for the Democrat nomination in 2028. To me, it's clear as day. She's a much more persuasive candidate than Kamala or Pete Buttigieg. Newsom is talented because he manages to be somewhat likable even while he is being caught in egregious lies, like going to French Laundry when he shut down all the establishments in his own state of California, even when he's burning major cities to the ground through his incompetent policies.
He's Nero.
He's Nero. He is Nero. He does, but he's pretty good looking. He's pretty articulate. He's weirdly likable. He's not a bad candidate. In many ways, AOC is even better because AOC has the advantage of being able to run against her own party. And that can be very helpful in presidential politics. Ronald Reagan won by running against his own party. Bill Clinton won by running against his own party. Barack Obama won by running against his own party. Donald Trump won by running against his own party. So
yeah.
I think actually she's in a pretty good spot. And if she's debating between running for Senate in New York or running for president, she'd be much smarter to run for president. Because if you're running in New York, the Schumer machine is going to be very difficult to take down. People actually know her a little bit better in New York. They see that she's a liar and a fraud and would not be very good for the state. Whereas
a congressional Kardashian.
Yes. I mean, she's kind of glitzy and glamorous on a national stage. She's already making swings through places like Idaho, on this tour with Bernie Sanders. So I hate to say it, it's sending a shiver down my spine. I think she's a pretty strong presidential candidate.
I said more so than Newsom and Buttigieg. That's not correct. Just correcting myself. They technically have 3 percentage points ahead of her. But the point is simply she's on the rise without really having done much other than push her anti-oligarchy tour. Those two seem a lot more thirsty for the nomination, including Gavin Newsom actually going to South Carolina and doing all these podcasts and so on. So, her stock is going up from her just doing her normal thing. On the Schumer front, Doug Schoen points out a poll conducted earlier this spring showed AOC leading Schumer by almost 20 points, 55 to 36. And he says Democrats would likely be encouraged by the idea of having a younger candidate than the 74-year-old incumbent. And so that's what brings me to these Democrat Socialists of America. Now, I have never paid too much attention to them. The main introduction I got to this group was when literally on 10/8/2023, the day after the disgusting, awful massacre in Israel, they gathered in Times Square, blaming it all on Israel and celebrating what had happened to the innocent Israeli babies. They thought it was fantastic. They were literally in the streets of Times Square celebrating it all and blaming it all on Israel. Okay, who's that again? I said, Democrat who? Socialists of America. Now they've got, that's what AOC is. It's effectively what Bernie Sanders is. It's 100% actually what Mamdani is, the likely next mayor of New York City. And now in New York, we have a group called the Democratic Socialists of America. That was the group that was out there in Times Square. And they're organized, they're enthused, they are feeling the wind at their backs because of Mamdani. and they're explaining explicitly what they're all about. This was posted by somebody who works for the Manhattan Institute, who I guess bothered to go to their little convention and get tape of them talking about their plans. And this is Mamdani's party, okay? So when this guy, our understanding is he's extremely close to Mamdani. His name, you're going to hear the soundbite, his name is Daniel Goulden. He is a member of the New York City Democratic Socialists of America steering committee. And per Stu Smith, who's with the Manhattan Institute, who posted this, Stu says that this guy, Daniel Goulden, worked on Mamdani's campaign, helped write his platform when it comes to trans policy, says that he regularly meets with Mamdani and Mamdani's staff, and said at this conference, quote, the Democratic Socialists of America have regular meetings with Mamdani, let alone his team. His policy director is my friend, says this guy you're about to hear from, and I've been working with his campaign manager for well over a year. Well, what is it they've been working on? Take a listen to this.
Zoran is literally attempting to do what conservatives say, we want to do, which is provide gender-affirming care to anyone who wants it for free. And we're going to ship people, we're going to fly people in and pay for their hotel rooms. And we're going to do all of the Fox News. But most importantly is we collaborated with the Zoran Mamdani campaign on his trans rights platform. And what we explicitly wanted to do was use the power of New York City to provide free gender-affirming care. And I say free in case insurance companies decide to boot us off. Free gender-affirming care, not just to people in New York City, but across the country. With Zoran, we're in basically the best possible position to seize state power that we can be in because, we're like this, right? DSA has regular meetings with him, let alone his team. His policy director is my friend. I've been working with his campaign manager for well over a year. New York City could provide trans health care for every trans person in the country who, can't afford it. And it would be a blip on our radar.
Okay. Just for listening audience, everybody on the panel was wearing a mask. They're wearing a mask. This just happened. You couldn't quite hear him as well in the beginning because mid-comments, he took off his mask so we could hear. It was very important that we hear his comments that New York City is going to provide so-called gender-affirming care for everyone in the nation. That the plan is that they could be flown to New York. We would put them up in hotels. They would be given, quote, free, meaning the taxpayers of New York City would pay for it, chopping off of minors' penises. That's what you're going to be paying for if you live in New York with this Zoran Mamdani from the guy who says we're like this with the fingers crossed. We're that tight. We're working with him. We're the ones he got his platform from. This is horrifying. And my question is, I love Andrew Schultz. He's a frequent guest of the show and he's brilliant. He's been saying nice things about Mamdani. And I get it. He's talking about affordability and so on. And he's a lifelong Democrat now and independent. I really want him to look at that. I want him to look at that and tell me how he feels about it because I trust his opinion on things like this. He's not a nutcase. There's zero chance he supports this. And tell me how people are going to vote for that. How? Your thoughts, Michael?
Looking at that clip, I am reminded that all stereotypes are true. It's always the ones you most expect. If you told me, Michael, close your eyes, draw a picture of the Democrat Socialists meeting, I would have drawn exactly the image that we saw there. And the way that he's bragging about this, it's illustrative because he says, these conservatives are always prattling on about how we want to trans everybody and fly people in and pay for all these mutilating surgeries. And why don't we just do that? Why don't we just do that? As if he is saying, yes, they're right about us. We do want to do this. Sometimes you'll hear Democrats say, oh, these Republicans are fear-mongering, and that's not real. No. Listen to the Democrat Socialist chief over there says, no, we do want to do that. And so the next squishy Democrat defense is, well, look, some people want to do this, but they don't have any real political power in the party. And what the Mamdani election tells you is, yes, they do. They have taken over the party in many ways. AOC is a top presidential candidate, and Mamdani is probably going to be the next mayor of New York. So these people do have political power. When someone tells you who he is, believe him. The conservatives have been right about everything the whole time. In fact, this is just generally true of social conservatives. Any debate that pops up over abortion, over marriage, over trans, over whatever, they'll say, oh, you conservatives, you and your slippery slope arguments, you're always worried that the sky is going to fall. Every single slippery slope argument ever made by social conservatives has come true. This guy is admitting it. So we all agree. And if they don't change something in New York soon, it's going to be a political reality.
And not just New York. I mean, AOC, as we just discussed, could be ascending to the presidency, to at least the presidential level. And there's not a thing that Zohran Mamdani believes that she doesn't believe too. From defund the police to free so-called gender-affirming care for trans people and minors. It's amazing. Where do these absolute losers think they're going to get all this money from? Literally, who? There aren't enough taxpayers in New York to fund gender-affirming care for everyone in the nation to come to New York. The hotels are already full of the illegal immigrants. It's insane. That was far enough left under Eric Adams. And now, by the way, Eric Adams is saying nice things about how he had some great meeting with the Mamdani team. Okay, this guy will kiss anybody's ass just to get a job at this point. You know, first it was Trump's, so he got rid of that federal prosecution. Now he's going to buddy up to Zohran Mamdani because he knows he's losing. But what, he wants a post in that administration? I mean, the only one left to save New York is sadly the sex pest, the lover of the fannies and killer of the grannies, Andrew Cuomo. Curtis Sliwa quoted that. That wasn't me. Curtis is still in there, but he has no chance. No Republican does. I love him. I'd vote for him in a heartbeat, but I'm just saying. So that's it. That's what New York has. But just zooming out, this party, to your point, is ascending. The American people are turning to these socialists as in the same way that the Republicans turned to Trump. You know, they were sick of the Republican Party and the Republican dogma. And there's another girl who spoke at this Democrat Socialists of America convention, whatever it was. And she said, first of all, I just want to start by saying everybody here hates the Democratic Party. So I get it. They're frustrated with it. They don't think that they're standing up for what they believe in. And there's a large faction of Democrats, in particular younger people, who are feeling totally energized by these people because of things like they can't afford a home. No young person can afford a home. And they think that these people are going to help them. And they've been totally fucking brainwashed by K through 12 woke schools and Ivy League colleges on things like race and oppression and oppressor narratives. So they think that Israel's the devil and the Palestinians are the truly noble ones, and they hate what the Democratic Party and America has done in supporting Israel. And so they're completely that's why they were out there chanting in favor of Hamas on 10/8. That's what they find attractive about this group, Michael. And it's real. We have to pay attention to it.
Certainly. I mean, you can see it just focusing on the left. Now in New York, the debate, the broad spectrum of politics goes from, should we fill up all the hotels with illegal alien gangsters, or should we fill up all the hotels with transgenderists who want to chop off their body parts? That's it. Right. That's the debate. Okay, that means that New York is quite left at the moment. But more broadly, if you look at the right, you see that there's a similar phenomenon going on, and we even use similar language for it. So the left has become woke, and for the right, we say we take the red pill. You know, we use the imagery from The Matrix. But it's much the same thing. It's to say we've been living under an illusion, and we've come out of that illusion, and we realize that what we took for granted in our political order was actually just imagined and illusory, and there's a more gripping reality that we have to deal with. The way that they're dealing with that on the left is to embrace socialism and all manner of radical ideologies. And the way that people are dealing with it on the right is to embrace, I think at the best way they're dealing with it is embracing a more classical understanding of politics that's more substantive, that's less obsessed with procedure, that really deals with virtue and what is most conducive to our flourishing, that's even open to discussing concepts like the common good. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there, but this happens regularly in politics. It's a cyclical phenomenon that at a certain point you say, okay, our political order is just kind of fake, you know, and it's not, even our top line economic numbers don't reflect the reality on the ground if young people can't buy houses and are stuck under mountains of debt. So we have to accept that. We're not going to remain in the 1990s consensus for very long. We have to deal with what's changing in our politics. But we can either go march with keffiyeh-wearing Hamas supporters and embrace socialism for the trans illegal alien gangsters of Guatemala, or we can go back to the very best of our country and pull something up that even the Republican Party, even the conservative movement has neglected, something deeper in our wellspring, but that is nevertheless patriotic, pro-American, conducive to the common good. I mean, I'm seeing that happen on the right. That's what won the day in November. That's what the MAGA movement is largely about. That's what the new right is largely about. But regardless, we've got these much more polarized extremes now. And if we don't win those elections, we're going to be facing a very different country.
It's happening. It's happening before our very eyes. I mean, did you see that chart that was all over X this weekend on the home ownership graph over the past 50 years? And it was showing, hold on a second, I just saw it. Okay, yeah. Okay, a mere 12% of 30-year-olds are married and own a home right now. 12% of 30-year-olds. And the graph shows it's basically, okay, from 1950, the percentage of 30-year-olds who were both married and homeowners, okay, 1950, it was over 50%. And in 2020, it is under 15%. In 2020, it is under 15. Like I said, it's 12% of people who are 30 and also married and own a home. They are not getting married and they cannot afford a home. That's the reason. The reason they don't own a home is because they cannot afford one. I'm sure they'd love to own one, but they cannot afford it. And we just continue to laugh at people like Mamdani, who is an absurd character when it comes to policies. But we're not actively fixing the problem that is driving people to him. You know, I mean, Trump tried. Trump actually said, hey, no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime. And let's cut taxes for everybody across the board, including the working class who pay the least in taxes, but let's cut their taxes too. And did it, you know? I mean, but keeping those Trump tax cuts permanent is a cut in your taxes because the Democrats were about to raise them by a lot. They were about to expire, and the Democrats would not have approved the lowering of them back to what Trump had in term 1.0. But that's not going to get it done, Michael. You know, Trump's running around telling the Fed to lower interest rates so people can buy homes and so on, but even that's not going to get it done. You know, right now we had a downward revision on the jobs numbers. Trump fired the woman who runs the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And let's face it, those numbers were all over the board. And this person, I realize she's just a data input, like control, enter kind of person. But the jobs numbers haven't been as strong as we want. And all of this is building towards support for radicalism.
Yes. Yes. And so, it's good to pay some attention to economic factors because if the economy were more well-rounded and sound, and if there were greater support in the private and public sectors for families, then you'd probably see more people getting married and having kids. But people got married during the Great Depression, didn't they? We've had plenty of very serious economic crises throughout American history, and it never destroyed the marriage rate and stopped people from having kids. Something else has obviously happened. When I see a chart like that, when I see the takeaway that people aren't getting married or having kids anymore, my reaction to that is, why should they? Why should they? I'll tell them why. The reason why is because it's good for you and it will lead you to have a more flourishing life and it's the thing you should do. But if you're just a random person who's been educated over the last 30 years in America, you've been told that God doesn't exist. So, be fruitful and multiply, leave your parents and join together. That's not going to persuade you. You've been told that the most important thing is to just do whatever fulfills you at any given moment. And you're the only person you should think about. Not moral obligations, not your obligation to your community, not close your eyes and think of England to have kids. No, just think about whatever you want. Your career is all that matters. Your money is all that matters. So, okay, then we've been told that marriage isn't anything real. It doesn't come from nature. It's not part of what it means to be a human. No, it's just a thing we can rewrite. If Anthony Kennedy wants to write some romantic poetry from the Supreme Court one day, we can redefine it. And it no longer will it be between a man and a woman. It could be two fellas or two ladies or three guys and a billy goat. Who knows? So it's an artifice. Who needs it? It's just like a piece of paper, man. And why have kids? Kids are a burden. They're a sexually transmitted disease, and they're going to limit your freedom. So 30 years of this, Megyn, 50 years of this. Why should people get married? Why should we be surprised when they don't want to?
Oh, gosh, it's chilling, but you're 100% right. And you made a great point earlier about all the slippery slope arguments have come true. I mean, I feel like I've lived that personally over the past 20 years in media, just watching conservatives warn and be called, these uptight, bigots, whatever. I mean, all the terms. And yet it's all come true. I mean, it really, like, marriage no longer means anything. The throuple is all the rage. Incubate a baby with absolutely no connection to a mother is the next wave of all of this. Just like grow one in an incubator with no mother present whatsoever. These are dark times, and you're right. It's having a real effect that better explains that marriage number, and it's related to home ownership. All right, stand by. We're not done. We're coming back right after this break. Don't go anywhere. That cookie calling your name at 3 p.m., yeah. The midnight fridge raids, the extra slice of pizza you swore you wouldn't eat. If you feel like your cravings control you, it is not just willpower. It could be your gut crying for help. That's why I want to tell you about Just Thrive Probiotic and their digestive bitters. See, modern diets often lack essential bitters compounds that manage appetite hormones like GLP-1, the same hormone in those expensive weight management shots. Just Thrive's digestive bitters give you the power of 12 clinically proven herbs that help your body break down food efficiently while naturally supporting GLP-1 production. Controlled cravings, less bloat, steady energy, and comfortable digestion. Try Just Thrive Digestive Bitters and Just Thrive Probiotic 2 today at justthrivehealth.com and use code Megyn for 20% off your first order. That's justthrivehealth.com, code Megyn. Your body will thank you. No better place to continue our discussion than the Sydney Sweeney update. This actress decided to star in an ad for American Eagle jeans. She celebrated her jeans, play on words, both the jeans she had on her body and the jeans she has in her body. The leftist meltdown continues. I'll just give you the latest. Turning Point sent a reporter named Savannah Hernandez to go ask a bunch of liberals at some sort of a conference how they feel about the Sweeney ad and got some fresh reaction. Here's how that went over the weekend.
The Sydney Sweeney ad, have you seen it?
Oh, yes, I have.
What are your thoughts?
Trying to calm myself, but that would, Sydney Sweeney has good really? Like, the eugenics in that, it's dripping with it, and I'm like, no.
I mean, I thought, it was disgusting. I think it's just showing what kind of country we're turning into. It's white supremacy at the end of the day. That's what this ad is representing.
And comparing the blue jeans to blue jeans, blue blood, white hair, or not white hair, but like blonde hair, blue eyes, and there's been a lot of comparison to that. I think it's absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, that's not a good look. She's blonde hair, blue-eyed, white woman, very cute, and
whatever the intentions were, the impact is very problematic.
It's not acceptable to begin with.
I mean, ironically, what I'd really love to do for all those women is introduce them to the glories of self-tanner. Just one little application. It doesn't take much. Takes off 10 pounds, makes you feel like $1 million. They're a little too, those ladies themselves, a little too in favor of white skin, in my opinion. They're the eugenicists, Michael. They're all homely. They're all overweight. They're at something called a Rage Against the Regime protest, where the number one rule, I looked it up on the back of that woman has a sign, and the number one rule is wear PPE, your personal protective equipment, like it's COVID, like it's March 2020. Mm-hmm. And they're really pissed off about Sydney Sweeney and her jeans, Michael.
Hot girls have aroused the ire of many, many a lady in the course of history. I'm trying to figure out what their exact claim is. So you heard the first lady starts out talking about eugenics, as the problem with this ad is it promotes eugenics, which is ironic because every single one of those women supports Planned Parenthood, wants more federal funding to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood was founded in the eugenics movement by one of the most prominent eugenicists in the country for eugenics purposes.
Yes, she actually wanted to kill black babies.
Yes, in fact, I think the line from Woman in the New Race is, we don't want word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population, which, however one reads the phrase, would seem to undercut the argument of these women. So that's the first part. Eugenics is good sometimes, it's bad sometimes. I guess in reality, by a broad definition, marrying a hot person is a form of eugenics. In the sense that eugenics just means good genes. So everyone wants to marry the hottest, smartest, coolest person they can find. That's a kind of eugenics, I guess. The bad kind of eugenics is like Planned Parenthood, when you want to kill a bunch of babies, or Hitler, where you want to exterminate whole races. But there's a good kind, I guess. People have good genes. Which brings me to my second question. Is the left now claiming that some people are not born naturally more beautiful than others? Is that the claim? The claim is that everyone is naturally just as hot? Are they going to look? They tell a lot of lies about biology and human nature and society, but they're going to look us in the face and say, some people are not born hotter than others. Sydney Sweeney looks just like every other woman that's ever been born. Is that the argument?
Yes. That is how they talk. That's why you, as a cisgendered heterosexual male, are a transphobe and a bigot if you were single, would refuse to date a trans woman as opposed to an actual woman. You have to like penis if it's attached to someone wearing a dress with fake boobs, or you're a bigot. Those are their rules.
I guess, actually, that's a very good point, Megyn. It's very insightful about liberalism, which is that liberalism broadly is about denying natural difference. So we're told that when we're born, we're all tabula rasa, we're all just total blank slates. Every child can be an astronaut or the president. There's no distinction whatsoever. And the fact is that isn't true. I flatter myself that I was the product of at least some eugenicist calculations. I hope so. But I'm probably not going to be an NBA star. That's probably not going to happen. Probably not. I don't know. I'm not going to be a linebacker. That's for sure. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not even going to be able to be a mathematician. Probably. There are certain.
You are an intellectual linebacker.
Yes, that's right. There are limits that are just placed on human beings, and one of those limits is we look a certain way. We have bodies and some bodies look better than others. And I guess this is the thrust of the American Eagle ad is, this rediscovery of marketing 101, that when you put very beautiful people in a product, you sell more of that product. And I'm sure this conversation actually did take place in the boardroom. I'm sure that when they pitched this ad, they said, look, we're going to do something really, really edgy that hasn't been done for 10 years. It's going to be the opposite of that Jaguar eunuch androgynous commercial from 6 months ago. We're going to put a really hot lady in the jeans and say, this lady's really hot by the jeans. And we're going to do what marketers did for all of human history. And we think it's going to work again.
They're so right. They've made $200 million at least off of this ad, according to the stock price rise.
In one day on market cap.
And now it's even up higher because President Trump tweeted about it, or posted on Truth Social, which also makes its way over to X, the following. This is one of the classic Trump tweets of all time, and that's saying something. Now, he found out that she's a registered Republican. That hit the news this weekend. Sydney Sweeney, a registered Republican, has the hottest ad out there, he writes. It's for American Eagle, and the jeans are flying off of the shelves. Go get 'em, Sydney! Exclamation point. On the other side of the ledger, Jaguar did a stupid and seriously woke advertisement that is a total disaster, in all caps. The CEO just resigned in disgrace, and the company is in absolute turmoil. Who wants to buy a Jaguar after looking at that disgraceful ad? I'll show it to you in a minute, audience. Shouldn't they have learned a lesson from Bud Light, which went woke and essentially destroyed in a short campaign the company? The market cap destruction has been unprecedented, with billions of dollars so foolishly lost. Or just look at woke singer Taylor Swift. Here we go, cherry on top. Ever since I alerted the world as to what she was by saying on Truth that I can't stand her, hate, in all caps with an exclamation point, she was booed out of the Super Bowl and became no longer hot, in all caps. The tide has seriously turned. Being woke is for losers. Being Republican is what you want to be. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's the greatest. It's so right. He's right. What did he say that was wrong in there? Absolutely nothing. And if you doubt me, folks at home, here's the Jaguar ad, which doesn't even show a damn car. It just shows a bunch of ugly pride people. Here it is. It's like from the year 3000 for the listening audience. It says create exuberant. It's people in like orange and red, live vivid. A man with little Lord Fauntleroy hair painting something. I don't know what that is. Everyone's androgynous. There's no gender.
Everyone's androgynous. That's
right?
The key feature.
You can't see, like, copy nothing. Where's the fucking car? Okay, where's the Jaguar? There's no car. I just want to say this, Michael Knowles. When I was a young lawyer at Bickle and Brewer, which is a very cool firm, it was like Rambo litigation. We were tough. I loved it. If you made partner there, they would get you a Jaguar. And the Jaguars back then, this is 1995, they were gorgeous. They were sleek. You could get it in white or green, and they had the little Jaguar in the front. And it was like a man's sports car because it was an overwhelmingly male firm, as most law firms were. And it was like hashtag goals to get a Jaguar. Now you've got the Dylan Mulvaney of sports cars. And guess what? No one wanted one. Trump is 100% right. They just canned their loser, weird, also androgynous looking CEO who was all about the pride and leaned into that weird messaging, tanking the brand. And now they've got to rebuild from basically scratch. Now Jaguar really is the Bud Light of cars. And American Eagle went a different route and is rolling in money.
Of course. You know, when you look at the Jaguar ad, what's striking about it is not that these people couldn't look good. Some of them could look pretty good. You know, a man can look good, a woman can look good, a white person can look good, a black person can look good. But you're going to look good by being what you are naturally good at and good for. So when a man acts like a man, he can look good. When a man acts like a woman, he's never going to look good. Same thing.
Look at that
with
first
the
person.
women.
Just to put out, when they started that ad, I don't know what that was. That first person that came out had breasts, but looked like a man and walked like a man and had a huge afro that was androgynous. So no way of telling. But the person was walking exactly like a man with boobs. Keep going.
Yes, this is the problem. I mean, even down to grotesque pictures through all of history. I think even down to the really grotesque demonic image of Baphomet, a very famous image. What is distinctive about it is it's the mixing of all these features, human and animal, male and female, all together, but it's all jumbled in a way that's totally incoherent and naturally repellent. Whereas American Eagle gets this really good-looking woman, and she's wearing ladies' jeans, and she's walking like a lady, and she's talking like a lady. They could have made commercials with a guy. They could have made commercials with people of other races. They could have done any number of commercials that would have worked. She happens to be the Hollywood starlet at the moment right now. And Trump is this absolute culture vulture who just gets where the winds are moving. Because the one pushback I've heard to conservatives happy about Sydney Sweeney, two pushbacks, but one in particular is, well, I thought we didn't care what celebrities think. And I thought, listen, you're telling me the people who have said now for 20 years, politics is downstream of culture, and we need to win back the culture, and we need pop culture figures, whatever. Of course it matters what celebrities think. This is politics. Politics is the public. These are public figures. They do carry sway. They do influence people. We have parasocial attachments to them. We say we don't care what celebrities think because the celebrities used to be uniformly on the left. But President Trump, being a massive celebrity and pop culture figure, when he took over the Republican Party, that really opened the gates to conservatives to be able to assert ourselves in pop culture. Final point on Sydney Sweeney, now that it's come out that she's a registered Republican, a lot of people are surprised by this. It's because they don't know one of the rules of thumb in Hollywood, which is if a celebrity is not constantly braying about his politics, he's a Republican. Every time.
Yes.
Every single time.
100%. I know a lot of them. I've known them for years, and they stay underground because they love acting, and it's totally understandable. And you yourself were a famous child actor, so you are of Hollywood, and you know this firsthand, I'm sure. They just keep their mouths shut. If you don't know what their political affiliation is, they're a Republican.
You could lose your whole livelihood, of course. And so you see someone like Sydney Sweeney, and the thing that I really love about her as a public figure is she's pretty, she's a pretty good actress, and she just leaves it at that. She just seems nice, seems kind of pleasant, seems generally happy, isn't yelling at me about abortion or whatever. She's great. She's just exactly what you expect out of a Hollywood starlet. And because of that, she was obviously a Republican. Obvious.
Totally obvious. And now we see the video getting released online of her at the shooting range doing rather well. This hit over the weekend. Watch.
Eyes up here.
Wow. 9:21. Oh my God, girl. Your first time? That was really good.
You're going dog nuts. I mean,
Ready, girl. Yes.
Sydney Sweeney has great splits.
Okay, so there we go. You get it. All you had to show us was that video, and we would have known she was a Republican. We didn't actually need somebody to dig up the voter registration.
Yes. Look, I don't need Sydney Sweeney now to go out there and talk about how great Edmund Burke is. I don't need her to go out there and lecture on the Federalist Papers. Sydney Sweeney, if she just wants to keep doing what she's doing, being a prominent Hollywood actress, playing her parts, doing her movies, and just opening up that aperture, just not being on the left, just pointing out that now that screechy, whiny, cringe-inducing, saccharine, insufferable culture of leftist Hollywood is on the back foot, and people don't really like it anymore. And we actually just reelected, with the popular vote, one of the most famous right-wing celebrities of our lifetime. Great. I'll take that. Is the win. It's not that the right needs to constantly dominate everything explicitly. We just want to be the normal. And right now, the normal is not, Susan Sarandon ranting about some leftist cause. Right now, the normal is Sydney Sweeney and Donald Trump.
Yes, you're so right. We have no desire to become what the left is right now. These overbearing, preachy, thought control police in colleges and so on. We just want normal. That's all. Go back to normal. You guys can be your crazy selves, but let go of the minds of our youth, and let go of our institutions and your weird totalitarian domination of them, to where we can't participate at all in the arts, et cetera, if our politics are known. And that's actually going to be an interesting thing with Sydney Sweeney, is to see now, because she's the toast of Hollywood, she's the it girl. Now, does she get roles? Like, I would argue her being called a eugenicist is far less damaging to her career than it emerging that she's a registered Republican. Like, that actually will be held against her. But yet they're going to want to make money, and these Hollywood bosses are going to have to see, I'm going to make more money with this one than I am with Lena Dunham. So what do I do? And by the way, I want to show you something. First time I ever saw her was in White Lotus, where she played one of the daughters of Connie Britton, who played like this frazzled businesswoman who was there on vacation at this fancy hotel with her family. And her daughter went with her daughter's friend, and they were like your typical sort of, what? I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Like your understated Gen Z teen types. And they were based on our friends from Red Scare who come on this podcast, which is perfect, because those two have sort of a laconic, even tone, even though they have like razor blade tongues. They can cut with their intellect. They don't need to do it in any other way. They are the opposite of sweaty tryhards. And so she was perfectly cast, and this is how she first came to fame, for those of you who are not familiar with Sydney Sweeney's acting roles. Here she is.
Where'd you meet him? Through friends?
Not Raya.
Raya? No, not Raya. How long was the engagement? We actually just met last September.
Oh, wow, that was really fast.
Yeah, like, how'd you know he was the one? Oh, I don't know. The chemistry was there, and...
His dick's not small.
Yeah. I don't know. Shane really wanted to get married, and he's very decisive and pretty convincing, so it just felt right.
It's amazing. It's amazing, right? It's so well done.
You know, that's the only thing I've ever seen Sydney Sweeney in other than this American Eagles commercial. And she was great in it. I thought, I did notice her. I was like, oh, she's very good. And she really gets your attention. But I didn't know of her, certainly didn't know her politics, didn't know anything about that. She became this it girl, I think in part, by the way, as a reaction to the failure of wokeness, because they've been trying to shove all of these like wacky, eccentric, crazy pop stars down our throats for 10 years. And Lena Dunham, as you mentioned, and that it just wasn't working anymore. So, you know, Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle here is both a cause of some of the cultural shift, but also is a reaction to the cultural shift. You saw American Eagle put out that statement, said, look, this jeans ad is just about how Sydney Sweeney's got great jeans and we make no apologies and it's totally great and, you know, stuff it. You know, they had written that not apology statement probably before the campaign launched. They knew how this was going to play out.
Yeah, and they don't have their heads in the sand.
Looked at the numbers. They said, look, Trump won the popular vote. I think a lot of it really does go back to November. Look, we're going to face a lot of pressure from activist groups. And when we don't cave to them, we're going to shoot our market cap up even higher. I think what's so wonderful about the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle saga is not just the cultural message, but the fact that it was probably written by calculating accountants with green visors on who just see the way the culture has moved and they're affirming for us what a lot of us had already expected.
So I gave my full thoughts on Sydney Sweeney on Thursday's episode, but I want to add one addendum. I think another thing that people are responding positively to is she's all woman. You know, she has a great pair on her that would be the envy of virtually every woman. And they're obviously natural. And she's natural. If she's had work done, it's imperceptible. And so she's like the kind of, in some ways, the opposite of a Kardashian. Like she's petite. She has, you know, bosoms. I don't know. I can't think of a nice, like, polite way of putting it.
A buxom
so she does.
actress.
She's buxom. Yeah, she's buxom. But like they're natural. And her face is not overly prodded or manipulated. She looks normal. She looks like just a pretty American girl she hasn't Kardashianized herself. So like you look at her and she's beautiful. She's a natural beauty. And I think that's another thing people are responding to. Like, I think they're fucking done with like the Lauren Sanchez's of the world. I mean, I was just talking to somebody who had seen her at this very public venue. And this person was saying most of the people at this venue were well known and were looking to like not be spotted, not be in the middle of the fishbowl. And that this person's observation about Lauren Sanchez was, she was like, where's the fishbowl? How can I get in the middle of it? And just kept standing and posing so she could be seen and admired and looked at. And I just think like there's a certain, you know, the enormous lips, like the lips that would scare you if you were sitting at the dinner table with them. Like your first instinct would be, run! I'm not safe. What is it? They're done with it, Michael. And so here comes this actual natural American beauty she's not like perfect by the weird TikTok, Instagram filter standard. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's the point.
Her face, yeah, like her face is beautiful, beautiful, absolutely. But it's not like the perfectly skinny nose and like the big lips. And I have to say, it's like nice to see someone who is more of like the classic American beauty totally embraced.
I think there's a reset that has happened. I think that's what the Sweeney campaign is about. I think that's what the Trump campaign is about, really. I was having this conversation with Wokal Distance, a great social media observer of things.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Baudrillard, this writer who observed a phenomenon of hyper-reality, such that his example was you start out with a strawberry and then you say, I like the strawberry so much, I want strawberry jam. I want even more of the strawberry flavor. And I like the strawberry jam so much, I want a strawberry candy. And I like the strawberry candy so much, I want a strawberry syrup. And then I want the strawberry syrup so much, I want a strawberry Jolly Rancher. And then you go down the line and eventually you have a strawberry Jolly Rancher syrup. Tastes nothing like the original strawberry. And I think that's basically what has happened to women. You say, I like that nose on that woman. And then you take it further into this realm of plastic surgery to the point that the woman looks like a caricature, like a grotesquerie, and you say, you don't look anything like the pretty woman I was first admiring. I think you see this in politics, where you say, okay, things happen in politics, and we come to abstract conclusions about them. But then sometimes we get high on our own supply, such that before the Trump moment happened, we had become so ideological about our politics that somehow, being a good patriotic American meant we had to bomb every country in the Middle East. We had to fling open our borders and let the whole world in. We had to ignore the working class. We had to do all of these things that were totally disconnected from on-the-ground realities of good politics. And I think Trump comes in there and he says, hey, I'm going to have a reset. Yeah, we're going to have borders again. I'm just running to give you good neighborhoods. I think we just need to be good and normal. And I see this in Hollywood. This ad campaign says, okay, we've all become basically grotesque clown caricatures of what celebrities were. We're going to reset. Here's a nice girl next door, looks very pretty. She's going to sell you blue jeans, the most normal kind of clothing you can have. And I bet you people are so starved for normal, for something close to reality, for a reset, you're going to send us up 10%, $200 million in market cap in one day.
Yes. And then in a way, it's turned out to be, I don't think this was part of American Eagle's plan, but it's turned out this way. It was a trap for the left, because you and I both know what happened in November 2024. The listening audience here knows what happened in November 2024 and what the message was by the voters. But the left either didn't listen, doesn't know, doesn't matter. Either way, they're not prepared to take it. They're not de-wokeifying their party. And they walked right into this trap by reacting, by recoiling at her appearance and the messaging of the ad. And that led to the vice president both the president and the vice president of the United States have now commented on this ad. This is an American Eagle dream. Here's what J.D. Vance told the fellas over at our pals, the Ruthless podcast.
Yeah, my political advice to the Democrats is continue to tell everybody who thinks Sydney Sweeney is attractive is a Nazi. that appears to be their actual strategy. I mean, it actually reveals something pretty interesting about the Dems, though, which is that you have a normal, all-American, beautiful girl doing a normal jeans ad, right? They're trying to sell jeans to kids in America, and they have managed to so unhinge themselves over this thing. And it's you guys, did you learn nothing from the November 2024 election? I actually thought that one of the lessons they might take is we're going to be less crazy. The lesson they have apparently taken is we're going to attack people as Nazis for thinking Sydney Sweeney is beautiful. Great strategy, guys. That's how you're going to win the midterms, especially young American men.
Their course correction lasted about 30 seconds.
That's right. Lasted 30 seconds. Somehow has gotten even crazier. But again, it's just so much of the Democrats is oriented around hostility to basic American life. So you have a pretty girl doing a jeans ad.
He is such an effective spokesperson for our side. The one comment I wanted to ask you about, great message, especially to young American men, who I'm sure you covered it on your show and we've covered it here. The Democrats are literally spending tens of millions to figure out how to talk to, how to recruit back to Team Blue. And this, guys, is not it. This would be lesson number one in how not to do it. Must I play the montage of the women at the event, the Rage Against the Machine event again? You're either on that team or you're on the Sydney Sweeney team. It's a problem. It's a serious problem, getting worse for the Democrats.
The Democrats might consider speaking to any actual men that might help them formulate their strategy. I remember there was a gal, I forget her name, I think she's since been ousted from the role, who was trying to help the Democrats win back young men in particular. I thought she didn't look like a sorority girl necessarily. But even if she had been a sorority girl, why don't you get a guy for that role? And not just any guy, not some weird androgynous guy that you fill your ranks up with, not some whiny guy. How about you get a normal guy? He doesn't even have to be the biggest Giga Chad that's ever walked the earth. Just a normal guy who wears normal clothes, who is attracted to Sydney Sweeney. Hire one of them. I'm sure you can find one of them somewhere and say, hey, buddy, how should I talk to your friends? But I don't want to give them any advice. So forget about that. Democrats, if you're watching, forget I said that.
No. Instead, what you have is guys on the Democrat Party like Jonathan Capehart, who he's not into Cindy Sweeney because he's gay, but he's a prototypical Democrat in that he's constantly crying, whether it's via his pen or on his MSNBC hits, and he just resigned from the Washington Post. I'll show you why in a second, but let me just give you a little refresher on what I'm talking about, where Jonathan Capehart, I think we have it via a montage, and you'll see some of the things that I just mentioned in SOT 33.
Officer Fanone, I'm going to try to get through this.
He's crying.
Thank you for what you did 3 years ago today. This election seems
January
to be,
6th.
if it proves out that the millions of people who are watching Fox News, if that ends up being the case, then I can't help but wonder if the American people have given up on democracy. The thing that I'm grappling with is that someone was elected who ran a campaign that was openly hostile, openly racist, xenophobic, misogynistic, transphobic, everything. Once again, turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
They all raise their hands.
Okay. So that's good. You all passed.
That was while electing the new head of the DNC. You passed because you say she lost because of racism and misogyny. So that's a more accurate representation of today's Democrat Party. Not for nothing, but he, as I point out, just quit, left, resigned, forced out, don't know, of the Washington Post, and managed to have the folks over at PBS NewsHour deftly work in a question about that at the end of his recent hit on that channel. Here, watch.
You should point out, after nearly 2 decades at the Washington Post, you recently made the decision to leave. I just wanted to give you a chance to speak directly to our audience to tell them why.
Well, the direction of the opinion section changed. Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post, as is his right, decided that he wanted the section to focus on the twin pillars of personal liberties and free markets. And it became clear as time went along, and especially when he chose a new leader for the section, that there was just not going to be any room for a voice like mine, especially when we were told that we would have to be unapologetically patriotic in talking about the positive things happening in the country. How can you talk about the positive things happening in the country when the rest of the house is engulfed in flames and the foundation is flooding? I wanted to go someplace where my voice would be heard.
Single tear. That was the deal breaker, Michael. He had to be unapologetically patriotic. There was nothing he could find to write about that was good about America, so he had to quit.
Yeah, you can't say, Megyn, you can't say that was the only problem. One was Bezos said you have to not hate your country. You have to be a patriot. You have to love your country. And you have to sometimes, occasionally, at least once, find something positive to say about your own country. And he couldn't do it. That was a bridge too far. And by the way, there are going to be people who say, well, journalists shouldn't be patriotic. There are going to be some extreme ideologues who say, I want my journalists to be totally neutral, not to have opinions about anything, to just come at every issue as a blank slate. That's not how human beings work. That's not how journalism has ever operated. We are not just creatures floating through outer space. To bring us all the way back to Kamala from the top of the show, we did not just fall out of a coconut tree. You know, we actually do exist in a political context. And I forget the way she phrased it. There were more giggles when she talked about it. But journalists are expected, at the very least, to love their country. It doesn't mean they're running PR for an administration or something, but to say, hey, can you love your country? It's like saying, hey, you should love your parents, or respect your parents. And the fact that these libs in very prestigious quarters of journalism can't do that tells you everything you need to know about these legacy outlets.
Yeah, so right. It's crazy. They didn't say you have to write something nice about Trump or even a single nice thing at all about his administration. It was, you have to love your country. That's it. You have to love your country. There's nothing, I could talk to you about why I love America all day long. It would not matter at all who was in the White House, at all. He had to quit rather than do it. He found that assignment so disgusting and abhorrent. That's the Washington Post. All right, that's MSNBC and that's PBS. It's disgraceful. All right, stand by. We've got to take a break. We will be back. And I got something fun teed up for you. Well, it's not fun, but it's shocking. All right, stand by. Michael Knowles comes back. What does feeling safe at home really mean to you? Maybe you thought good locks, maybe an alarm that would make some noise if someone broke into your home. But true security takes more, like one that works to actually prevent that break-in from happening in the first place. This is why I want to tell you about Simply Safe. It's about security that's proactive, not just reactive. Most security systems only react after a break-in, but Simply Safe's new Active Guard outdoor protection helps stop crime before it starts. With AI-powered cameras and live monitoring agents, suspicious activity is spotted in real time. If someone is lurking, agents can speak to them through the camera. They can trigger spotlights, that'll freak them out, and even call the police. No contracts, no hidden fees, trusted by over 4 million Americans. Monitoring starts at around $1 a day with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Visit simplysafe.com, that's spelled SIMPLI, safe.com/Megyn, and claim 50% off a new system with a professional monitoring plan and get your first month free too, okay? So you get 50% off if you enter the code Megyn. That's simplysafe.com/Megyn. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Let's be honest. America can still be a dangerous place, and you cannot afford to wait for help. Sure, you could use a firearm, but in today's America, defending yourself with deadly force could have legal consequences. According to FBI data, 99.9% of all altercations do not require lethal force. And that's exactly why so many are turning to Burna. Burna is proudly American, hand-assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. These less lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by hundreds of government agencies, law enforcement departments, and private security companies. Over 600,000 Burna pistols have been sold already, most to private citizens who just refuse to be victims. Burna launchers fire rock-hard kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas and pepper projectiles capable of stopping a threat from up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods, and Burna can ship straight to your door. Take responsibility. Protect your future. Visit Burna.com right now or your local Sportsman's Warehouse. That's BYRNA.com or your local Sportsman's Warehouse. Visit now and be prepared to defend. Michael, we've been following on this show the Russiagate revelations that Tulsi Gabbard has been making from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. And it's just been one bombshell after another. The bottom line is we now know how Russiagate got started, and we know that it was all a lie started by the Hillary Clinton campaign, that the Hillary Clinton campaign realized she was in trouble because of her email scandal, which had broken in 2015 in the wake of Benghazi. We found these emails of hers that were weird, and people were like, what server was that on, and so on. And it created a problem for her all the way up to Election Day 2016. And as she got closer to Election Day, she decided to concoct 2 lies about Donald Trump to distract from her email scandal. She got the Steele dossier through this Fusion GPS company that her campaign paid, and she got this group CrowdStrike, which was the one responsible for the hack into that. That's the one that said that the Russians hacked the DNC email, and she created this entire storyline around the Russians doing these terrible things in tandem with Donald Trump in order to, yes, hurt Trump, but also mostly to distract from her own scandal. And we also know that Obama knew. He knew about it. He was told by his intelligence agencies in the late summer and fall of 2016 at the latest. I'll give you one example. In the documents Tulsi released, this is from an Aaron Mate post that came, oh, actually, sorry, forget it. This is actually from our interview with Aaron Mate, where he pointed out, and this was in last week, so you can go back and look at it. There was a September 12th, 2016, September 12th, intelligence community assessment where the FBI and the NSA both said they had low confidence that Russia was the one who hacked and released the DNC emails. our intelligence did not believe Russia had hacked the DNC. He goes on to say, but that did not stop the Department of Homeland Security or the DNI from putting out a statement in October that they thought Russia was behind the hack. And Jay Johnson, who was the head of DHS, later testified that Obama approved that statement, which was a lie. He approved saying that it was Russia who hacked the DNC. We also learned from a December 7th, 2016 DNI memo declassified by Tulsi that intel assessments about intrusions into the DNC emails was based on evidence identified by CrowdStrike, which worked directly for the Clinton campaign, okay? So, and then that info was leaked to a Washington Post reporter named Ellen Nakashima. In other words, intel assessments about intrusions into the DNC emails were based on evidence identified by CrowdStrike, which worked for Clinton. So Clinton was the hand orchestrating all these big reveals about, oh, my emails or the DNC emails were hacked by Russia. Oh, Donald Trump had prostitutes peeing in front of him at a hotel room in Russia. Okay, so she did it, and she did it to distract from her own email. And Obama knew. His intel community went to him and told him, we just found out from the Dutch who are spying on the Russians that the Russians have unearthed a Hillary Clinton plan to do this whole thing, to say Trump is a Russian agent and that she's going to do it to distract from her email scandal. Obama knew. He knew, as far as I can tell, it was either September or August of 2016. He knew. Here he is in December 2016, after she's lost the election, in an interview making the rounds online, one of those things that's resurfaced, talking about these issues. Listen.
Did the Russian hack of the Democratic National Committee and other targets actually affect the results of the election in your view?
Elections can always turn out differently. You never know which factors are going to make a difference. But I have no doubt that it had some impact. Everyone now acting surprised by the CIA assessment that this was done purposely to improve Trump's chances. And my only point was that shouldn't be treated as a blockbuster because that was the worst kept secret in this town. Everybody understood that. It was reported on. It's a pretty clear inference that people would draw and did draw, that this was helping the Trump campaign and it was hurting the Hillary campaign. My only point was we shouldn't now suddenly act as if this is a huge revelation. Every intelligence agency in the federal government arrived at a consensus that the Russians had hacked the DNC, and the information that was now being released was as a consequence of a decision by Russian intelligence and Russian officials at the highest levels. So what the CIA is now assessing, which was it was done purposefully to tilt the election in the direction of a particular candidate, shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, and in fact isn't a surprise to anybody.
Okay. Those are all lies. Everything he said was a lie. They knew, the intelligence community knew that the Russians had not hacked the DNC, and he'd been briefed. And they knew that there was no goal by the Russians to help Trump at all. That had been, at best, a low confidence assessment by somebody within the intelligence community, which only got elevated to an actual action point in an intelligence assessment thanks to President Obama. He demanded it. And now he's out there acting like, oh, well, everybody's known this. They knew that the Russians hacked the DNC, and they knew they wanted to help Trump. Everyone knew that. They knew that it was reported on. Why was it reported on? Because you had your intelligence people leak to Ellen, whatever her name is, at the Washington Post, and others at the New York Times. You sprinkled false information to these stenographers in the press who then did your bidding, so you could wind up on NPR in December acting like this has been out there, everybody knows it. Meanwhile, the truth is, as we've seen in these Tulsi documents, he knew everything he said there, Michael, was not true.
Everyone knew it because he wrote the story. So I guess that would be one true statement, is everyone knew it because he's the one who concocted the lie that everyone then came to believe. But I guess the problem with this scandal is that everyone knew it. Everyone who paid any attention, who supported Trump, who didn't buy into the mainstream lies that were cooked up by people like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, everyone already kind of knew it. Yeah, Hillary cooked up this nonsense dossier. Hillary cooked up all this Russia nonsense. It did rise to the presidential level. There's no way this kind of messaging could have gotten out without presidential approval. And then he doubled down on it. And Barack Obama's a liar. And yeah, of course, Barack Obama's the guy who said you get to keep your health insurance if you like it. And then the minute that he passed his health care bill, he said, well, what, you think I was going to let you keep your health insurance? There's no way. No, not a chance. So he is an infamous liar. And the problem for the Trump administration right now is we need to remind people to care about this, even though it happened a long time ago and everyone suspected it for a long time. We now have proof. We have hard proof on all of these fronts. And it's hard. People have the attention span of a fruit fly. I guess the one way you might be able to persuade people to care about this is that constantly we hear that we need our corrupt public officials to be held accountable. We want actual accountability. We want consequences for these people. Don't let them keep getting away with it. Well, the only way that you're going to have consequences for this massive scandal that sought to upend our democracy and compromise a presidential election, all the things the left accuses us of that they were actually engaging in, the only way you're going to have consequences is if you hold these people's feet to the fire now, and don't get distracted and don't get tired and don't despair and don't just move on. Because probably if I'm a gambling man, I don't think that they're going to face serious consequences for this because I don't know that the American people have the attention span for it.
I think it's going to happen.
If we want consequences, now's the time to bring them.
I think we're going to see indictments this month. It's so hard to keep it straight. I apologize to the audience. It's just so dense. I try every show to say it in as clear terms as I can, but it's so dense that it's hard. But here, let me take one more shot, okay? This is from one of the documents that was released late last week by Tulsi. And the headline here is that John Brennan, who is head of the CIA, briefed President Obama, Joe Biden, the vice president, DNI Clapper, and FBI Chief Comey on the possibility of the Clinton plan to tie Trump to Putin. It happened on August 3rd, 2016. So the head of the CIA sat down with Barack Obama and others and said, Hillary Clinton is getting ready to say falsely that there's a Russian influence operation here that involves Donald Trump. And his handwritten notes, Brennan's, after the meeting, read, quote, we're getting additional insight into Russian activities that cite alleged approval by Hillary Clinton on 26 July of a proposed plan from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming Russian interference by the Russian security services. He knew. Obama knew it was coming. And then when those leaks started to come in, that, he did bad things with prostitutes in Russia and Putin has compromat on him. Or, the Russians hacked the DNC email. Instead, they didn't stop and say, this is the Hillary Clinton plan. Who's behind this information? Oh, wait. That stuff about the prostitutes came from the Steele dossier. Who funded that? The Clinton campaign. That stuff that the DNC was allegedly hacked by the Russians, that came from a group called CrowdStrike. Who's paying them? The Clinton campaign. They didn't stop to say any of that. They buried all of that. They ignored that. They used the Steele dossier as if it were real evidence and the CrowdStrike information as though it were real evidence to hang this around Trump like an albatross. And then there's Obama talking about it on NPR after Hillary has lost. Like, we all knew that the Russians did this. We've known for months. It was obvious to everyone. The whole thing was so pernicious. It was such a disgusting, dirty, dangerous lie. And there will be accountability, Michael. I'm really starting to believe we're going to see indictments as soon as this month because the statute of limitation is about to run on some of the lies that were told during Durham's investigation, which was 2020, 5-year federal perjury statute. And some of the lies were told in August of 2020. So it's on. The clock is ticking.
I hope we're going to see indictments. Nothing more. The reason why it's so important for the people who say, well, don't relitigate the politics of 10 years ago. Yeah, whatever. But Trump won. All's well that ends well. The reason that there has to be consequences is because if you don't punish the people for doing these extremely corrupt things, they're just going to keep doing it. And then don't complain to me when next cycle or the cycle after that, you get another version of this. You know, in politics, you need sticks and carrots. And there are a lot of carrots for good, positive behavior, but sometimes you need to bring the stick. And I hope you're right, Megyn. I hope we see the stick come down and we see some real indictments.
I agree with you on the deterrence factor, but it's also the justice of it. They stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out and out lies that were really serious and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And there must be accountability. There has to be actual criminal accountability for those who lied. And I can't wait to see this administration do it. Michael Knowles, a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Megyn, always great to be with you. See you next time.
I love when you're on. Okay, we're back tomorrow with an MK true crime preview with 8, count them 8, of our Kelly's Court favorites. One of the cases we're going to take on, the president of France and his wife are suing Candace Owens. Do they have a case? You'll see a fair and balanced legal analysis right here.